Hello, my name is Brad Phillips. I'm here with Puppy Steps Training, and we're going to be doing Sadie's demonstration for you today. We're very excited to send her to you, and I think you'll really enjoy her. Before we really get started with pulling her out and doing the whole demonstration, there's just a couple things that we need to talk about. First and foremost, just that remember that she is still a puppy. She's still young, and there's going to be a lot of time to learn and to continue to progress. And so don't be satisfied with where she's at. Always strive to improve her, as well as don't be surprised if she makes mistakes. The important thing is, if she does make a mistake, to always end on a correct behavior, as well as don't lose your temper or let her see that you're frustrated. So also a couple more things to talk about. One is, throughout this whole demonstration, you're going to hear me use the word okay. And you'll hear me use that quite a bit. That's our marker and our release word. So what that means is it marks the correct behavior and releases her from a stay. So the other thing you might hear me use is no. That's our correction term. And so if she does something simple like breaks a stay, I'm going to tell her no. I'll have her do it again, and I'll just shorten it or relieve some of the distractions. Now for no, we treat as kind of a misdemeanor felony type of deal. If she does something simple like breaks a stay, I'll simply tell her no and make her do it again. Where if she does something a little worse, like jumps on me or tries to steal some food, I'm going to put myself in more of a commanding tone of voice, as well as in a body position, because I read your voice fluctuation as well as your body language. So with our program, we're going to go through all 5 steps. The first is socialization, and so for me that's one of the most important parts. And what that is for the first 2 weeks that we have the dog, we send them to a family here in Clarkson where they work on being socialized. And so what that is we're getting them used to different people, new places, sounds, animals, surfaces, all these little things that can really trip up a dog, because from the age of 6 to 12 weeks is really that critical socialization time. That's when the dog's going to decide what they're afraid of and what they're not. And so for the socialization, that's where we really protect against having an anxious or a timid or an aggressive dog. And we really focus on that throughout our program, doing the commands on different surfaces such as carpet, hardwood, on the bed, on the asphalt, just little things like that, as well as incorporating noise into the distractions when we're doing their stays. Simple things like that, just to really ensure that we're going to have the best well-mannered dog that we can. The second part is our manners, and so we'll go into those each step by step, as well as our obedience commands and our house training and our leash training. So with the manners, we're going to start with the gates and the doorways. So anytime she comes out of her crate or goes through the door, I expect her to hold a stay. Now that stay, I shouldn't have to tell her. It should be an automatic behavior. Now if she ever does try and break, I'll just lift up my leg, or I'll shut the door, just block her, and make sure that she's doing the correct behavior. And so we'll pull her out now. Okay, good girl, good girl. Now, when she comes out of the crate or when she comes inside, I don't give her a food reward for that type of behavior, because getting out of the crate is a reward in itself. So I would expect her to do the same thing right here. Okay, good girl. Don't roll away. Okay, now we'll come back in. Okay, good girl. So I want her to stop and give me some attention, make sure that we make eye contact before I release her outside, just making sure that she's staying. Good girl. Now, the next part of her manners would be her greeting. And so what that is anytime she approaches me, I expect her to sit before I'm going to give her attention. Sadie, come here. And so before I give her anything, I shouldn't have to tell her, she should just sit automatically. Good girl. Good girl. And so what that's doing is, one, it's getting her planted so she's not trying to jump on you, or she's not wrapping you up with the leash, but she's planted, as well as she's making eye contact. Because for a dog, they have a single track mind, so whatever they're looking at, that's what they're thinking about. And so if she sits there and I get her eye contact, I have 100% of her attention. Girl. So next would be her mealtime manners. So anytime I feed her, I'm going to expect her to hold a sit stay. And so if she's already sitting, I'll just tell her to stay. And this is a great time to really work on her stays. We have what are called the 3 Ds, and that's distance, duration, and distraction. And so adding all those really solidifies a stay. And so talking right now, this is a great distraction, as well as I can move her food bowl around, step away, all these little things to help her increase her stays. Okay, good girl, good girl. Now, while she's eating, I just want to show you one thing. We spend a lot of time during their meals putting our hands in their food bowl. What I'm doing is really protecting against having any type of food aggression, because a lot of people think they have the kindest, the most well-behaved dog in the world, but then they're surprised when a toddler goes up and sticks their hands in the food bowl and they get nipped at or growled at. And so we want to protect against any type of aggression. Now, along with that, we spend a lot of time playing with their ears and their muzzle, their paws, all these sensitive areas to a dog. And once again, all that's for is just to protect against having any type of aggression. Plus, it's really handy when you have to take her to the vet and have to clip her nails, things like that. You don't want her to be aggressive or too anxious over her paws being touched. Now, I'd also expect her to be not aggressive when I take her food either. And so it's also a great way to work on her stays is I'll just take it from her and have her sit, tell her to stay, do it again. Okay, good girl, good girl. Now, going along with aggression is one form of behavior that a lot of people mistake for aggression is with children. Children are great to a dog. They're the perfect size, they run, they squeal, they make things a lot of fun. And so the dog just wants to play along with them and they end up grabbing a pant leg or an arm, things like that. And a lot of people will mistake that towards aggression. And so we don't want that to happen. And so for us, when we have kids play with her, we give them something to play with her with. And so having a rope, something that they can run and dangle off to the side that she can grab onto, as well as if they don't want her to grab onto it, they can throw it. And just include her in their fun. And that's going to save you a lot if she does ever want to try and grab a pant leg, anything like that. And so that's going to protect against that behavior. Now, a couple other manners. One of the big ones would be jumping. For a puppy, that is a big thing to overcome. They always want to just jump on you. And that's actually one of my biggest pet peeves. And so we spend a lot of time working on that. And we've instilled the command off. And so if she ever does jump on me or jump up on the crate or on your couch, tell her off and expect her to get down. Now, for the first couple weeks, that transition period, I would leave a leash attached to her. And that way, if she does jump on something she's not supposed to, you can tell her off and you can give her a simple leash correction, which is just kind of 2 pops on the leash. Not hard, but letting her know that that's not acceptable. Also, a couple important things with jumping. The biggest is if a dog's coming at you and they're going to jump, it's important that you never step back. As soon as you step back, that's encouraging her to keep coming. Whereas if she was jumping, I would want to step into her and restrict the jump. As well as if she does jump, you can quickly bring up your knee and stop that from occurring. Other behaviors that we've worked on in this section would be her chewing. Now, she's going to begin teething. She might have already began, but either way, in the next couple months, she's going to be teething very heavily. And so she's going to need to chew. And so for that behavior, we train on a base of avoiding and replacing. And so if you can avoid leaving toys or shoes, things that she has free access to, if you can avoid giving that, that's going to be the best way to protect against her chewing them up. But that's not always possible in your house. You're always going to have a table, you're going to have a couch, something that she has access to. And so for that, we replace. So if she goes and starts chewing on her bed, I'm going to give her something soft, something of kind of equal texture that she can chew on. Whereas if she goes after something hard like your table leg, I'll give her like a bully stick is what we use, just something hard that she can chew on. But the important things with chewing, the main causes are boredom. And so if you do have a downtime where she's just kind of laying around, just give her something like a bully stick that she can chew on and just be content. Also, don't give her free access to her toys because quickly she'll get bored with them and go find something new to chew on. Now also, we have two other manners. One would be drop it, and so that's actually included twice. It's included in our manners as well as our commands because I expect her to drop it out of being well-mannered, but I also expect her to drop it on command. And so all I do in that is I'll say drop it, good girl, and expect her to physically release whatever it is. Now, one important thing to remember with that is that you're never jerking it out of her mouth. Especially while she's still young and teething, you can really hurt her by jerking out a tooth if it gets caught in like these soft toys. If she ever does just refuse to drop something, if it's long enough, what I do is I just take it and put my hands on both sides if she's grabbed in the middle. And what you can do is then hold it really still and make it unappealing. And if she continues to chew, I can just turn my knuckles in and you'll pinch that lip against her canines and make it just uncomfortable to where she'll just let go. But she's pretty good at that. She doesn't really hold on to too many things. But expect her to drop it when asked. The last part in our manners section would be having her be aware of her mouth, especially of her teeth, because the puppies do get excited over food and they can end up biting you or just catching you with their teeth. And so we want them to be gentle, and so we've instilled the command gently. And so if I can just tell that she's excited, I'm going to tell her gently before I even give her a treat. But I expect her to be very gentle with her mouth. The other important thing with gently is the way that you present a treat. If you put it between your thumb and your forefinger, that's just asking her to bite. She's going to come over your fingers. So anytime I give her a treat, I'm going to put it in the palm of my hand. And if she's excited, I'll pull it back and I'll say gently and expect her to be very gentle. Good girl. So that concludes our manners, and now we'll go right into her obedience commands. Now we'll start with the two most basic commands. That's come and watch me. Both of those we teach from day one. Then we'll get into our four commands with hand signals, and that's sit, down, and both of those have stays. And then we'll do her crate and her go to bed. And so we'll start with come. Sadie, come. Very basic, just asking her to come to me. Now, with that being so basic, it's also the command that everybody kills first off. And for the sole reason of when do you call your dog to come? It's usually because they're doing something they're not supposed to, or it's time to leave, something like that. And so quickly the dog will build up a negative association with the command. And so for a lot of these commands, but especially come, I'll keep a rule of 10 to 1. And that's I'll call her to come to me 10 times just to give her a reward and let her go for every one time I have to call her to come. If I don't have to call her to come, I'll just hook a leash on and go. The second of our basic commands is watch me, and all that is to get her eye contact. And so we'll distract her a little bit. Watch me. Okay, good girl. See how her head just came up and she looked at me? That's all I'm looking for. And that goes back to when we were talking about her greeting, where if you have their eye contact, you have 100% of her attention. And so getting that eye contact, she's paying attention to me and can await further commands. So now we'll go over her commands with her hand signals. And so the first one is sit, and that's a scoop over her nose. If it helps you remember, that's the way that we taught her. We'd take her food bowl and I'd lift it over her nose till her hind end went down, and then we'd mark the behavior. And then down is I'll just take my hand flat and go down to the ground. No. And then I'll show you a stay for each of those. So we'll get her up. Here. That's a sit. Good girl. Good girl. And then when I do it down, I'll always put her in a sit first. Down. Good girl. The important thing with down is to make sure that those elbows go down, that she's not hovering. If she is hovering, if you try and get her to stay, she'll pop right back up. So now we'll bring her over here. Come here. Sit. Stay. Okay, good girl. Good girl. Now, I'll show you her down stay. Sit. Down. Stay. Okay, good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Now, our last two commands that we focus on in this section, they don't necessarily have hand signals, but sometimes they require you putting yourself in a way that she can read your body language. And so that's crate and go to bed. And so for crate, I'll just point. Sadie, crate. Girl. Now, I also expect her to stay when I tell her to go into her crate. Also, crate is a very important one, that you use that rule of 10 to 1. If you just use it when you lock her up, she'll quickly get to the point where she does not want to go in. Okay, good girl. Good girl. Now, it's kind of the same thing with go to bed. Come here. Get her away. And I'll just tell her, go to bed. Good girl. And I don't care what position she's in, as long as all four paws are on the bed. As well as I expect her to stay until released. Okay, good girl. Good girl. Yeah. So those are her basic obedience command. Now we'll get into her house training and her leash training. And so I'm going to give her something to chew on, because the house training requires a little bit more talking and less action on her part for right now. So with the house training, we have taught her how to ring the bell, as well as what it means and where she's allowed to go to the bathroom. Now you're going to have to help her understand that those mean the same things at your house as they do here. And so the easiest way to do that is right when you get her home, you're going to want to take her to the spot designated for her to eliminate. And I'll take her by the leash and I'll pace around for a minute or two, and occasionally saying the word outside. Outside is our marker word for going to the bathroom. And so when she does go, I'm going to tell her, good outside, good girl, and I'll give her a treat. I'll make it very, very rewarding. And then I'm going to bring her inside and I'm going to take out the bell that we're sending you. And I would put some peanut butter or some bacon grease, just something that smells really good on that bell. And I'll hang it on the door that you're going to be using every time you take her out. And immediately she's going to go and lick the bell or touch it because she's trying to get whatever's on it. And you're going to tell her, you want to go outside? Let's go outside. And you'll take her by the leash and you'll go back out to that area. You'll pace around for a minute or two and then you'll come right back in. If she goes or squats, make it really rewarding. Mark the behavior. Say, good outside, good girl. If she doesn't go, just bring her in, and immediately she's going to turn around and she'll hit the bell again. Once again, just trying to get whatever's on it. And so I'll take her back out, pace around for a minute or two, and come right back in. I'll usually do this about 10 times with whether it's peanut butter or whatever's on the bell. Just giving her a good amount of repetitions to ring the bell and to go outside and give her an opportunity to go to the bathroom. Now, after about those 10 repetitions, I'm going to take the bell and I'm going to clean it off. I'm going to make sure that there's nothing on the door or on the bell, and I'll hang it back up. And immediately, they usually go over and they touch it again, just looking for whatever was on the bell. And I'm going to tell her, you want to go outside? Let's go outside. And I'll take her out, pace around for a minute or two, and come right back in. Some dogs will do it once with nothing on the bell, others will do it another 10 times. And so it's a lot of repetitions going in and out, in and out. But what it's doing is giving her as many opportunities in a short amount of time to ring the bell and to understand that it's there to use the bathroom. After you do those repetitions, I would set a timer for 30 minutes. And I would keep it there for probably the first day. And at the end of every 30 minutes, I'd walk her over to the bell, hang it out in front of her, or jingle it off the door, and give her the opportunity to ring it, and then take her out and do the same thing. After about the first day, I'll start to bring it up to 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Right now, I feel completely confident in her to be in the house for 2 hours without needing a break. Now, with that said, the transition often makes them have to go to the bathroom more. A lot of times they get diarrhea or just a loose stool, and so it's important that you have constant supervision when she's out. And when I say that, I mean if you can't give her 100% supervision, put her in the crate. That way she doesn't go find a corner to have an accident, as well as she doesn't chew something up in your house. She's very comfortable to be in the crate, and so that's not a punishment for her. We've really worked hard to make it be just a comfortable location. It's kind of her space. And so with that, we've also crate trained her. And so she's good to spend the night in the crate for 8 to 10 hours without needing a break, and 4 hours during the day without needing a break. But once again, with that being said, for the first couple weeks while she's going through that transition, if she whines, she might need to go to the bathroom, so take her out, go to the bathroom, and then you can put her right back in. If you do have any questions with the house training, please send me a text or call me. We'll make sure that it transitions as smoothly as possible. And so now I'll show you that she will ring the bell. We'll walk over to the door and show you that she'll ring it, and we'll walk outside for a second, then we'll come back in and do her leash walking. Alright, let's go. Okay, outside. Just like that, she immediately touched it, so I'm going to tell her outside, and we're going to walk out. Okay. Okay. Now it's important when you take her outside that after she goes, or even if she doesn't go, you come right back in, that you never play with her. Otherwise she'll be ringing the bell just to go outside, and so we really want to distinguish that. And especially where we're going to be walking outside to do her walk. We want to make sure that we distinguish between ringing the bell to go to the bathroom and her walk. So, with her leash training, we take them on 2 types of walks. The first is an off-leash or a long lead walk. That's just for her to be a dog, to run, to swim, to play, just to get out and stretch her muscles. And so, when we take them on that type of walk, basically I'll call her back to me every minute or two just to have her check in, as well as that strengthens that come command. And they really need those types of walks about once a week, just to really get out. The second type of walk is our attention walk, and so that's basically our business walk. Come here. That's getting from point A to point B. And so when we go on that walk, I want her to maintain being right next to me with a loose leash and constantly checking in. And so we'll go out and we'll demonstrate that for you. Also keep in mind that there's 2 commands that go with her walking. The first is let's go, just signifying we're moving. The second is easy, and so if she ever starts to pull, I'm going to stop and I'm going to give her a simple leash correction and tell her easy, and I expect her to put the slack back in the leash. Now, with easy, I always say become a tree, and which I mean is root yourself, don't let her pull through you. If she wants to persistently pull, I'm going to turn her, or I'm going to tell her easy, and then I'm going to turn around and walk the other direction so that she's not able to get to whatever she was pulling for. And after she puts that slack back in the leash and walks next to me, I can turn around and continue in the direction we were going. And if she ever starts to pull again, I'll turn around and walk the other way. But it's also important to remember that even though she tightens the leash, pay attention to that, because she might not be pulling, she might just be kind of finding her boundary a little bit. And so I'm not going to immediately give her a harsh correction. I'll just simply ask her or tell her easy. And so we'll walk outside and show you that on the road. Drop. Good girl. Let's go. Come on. Okay. So just pay attention to the way that she walks next to me and the way that she checks in. Let's go. That's exactly what you want. You've noticed every couple of steps I did reward her, just asking her to keep checking in. If you do have any questions or concerns,